Fadhalini, let the institutions that have been set by the law do their work. DCI afanye kazi yake, tumwachie nafasi yake. Ikiwa una ushahidi kuna mtu fulani alihusika na kuleta dhahabu gushi hapa Kenya, usiende Matangani, nenda Karura Forest. Hapo karibu kuna ofisi ya DCI, nenda ukapeleke ushahidi pale kwa DCI. Maana ushahidi unomwagika Matangani utamsaidia nani?
Well, the NTV on the road has pitched camp in Narok County, and they've been bringing us stories, sounds and sights from the county from Friday. And today we're expecting a story sometime later on. But before we go there, let's look at one of the interesting things about Narok. A recent study by the Kenyan Market Trust found that every Kenyan consumes an average of up to 15 kilograms of meat annually. And that may seem high or low depending on which part of the country you come from. But it could be argued that nowhere in meat consumed in large quantities rather than among the Masai community. In Narok, meat is part of everyday meals, as Victor Kiprop found out. And if you are concerned about the chronic diseases that might cause, well, the Masais have a solution for it. Take a look.
On average, Kenyan consumes up to 15 kilograms of meat every year, which translates to about 40 grams per day. But for residents here in Narok who consume meat up to 3 times a day, that figure could go up to 2 kilograms per day. Join us. Wewe huwa unakula nyama kiasi gani kwa siku?
Kwa siku nakula kama kilo moja.
Kilo moja mtu moja?
Kilo moja mtu moja. Tangu utotoni mwetu tumelelewa na nyama. Hii chakula kingine tumekuja tu kujua juzi. Kwa hivyo kama hujapata nyama utasikia kama umekula chakula kizuri.
But while the report shows that a majority of Kenyans consume meat only once a week, for the Masais, meat is a key component of every meal. Sasa hii umenunua hii unakula hapa na bado jioni utaenda kukula nyama?
Hii bado ni tunaweza sema ni ile breakfast. Bado sijakula lunch na supper bado sijakula. Kwa hivyo hii ni kiamsha kinywa.
Increased consumption of red meat has already been associated with a number of diseases, with doctors advising consumption of smaller portions per day. But for the residents here, they already have a remedy.
Sasa ile mtu amekula nyama, inapiga nyama ndio mtu asipate mafuta kwa mwili na iko yenye inajanga mwili. Tunapiga dawa kama 20 mpaka 30. Na hiyo madawa ni mazuri sana kwa sababu ni ya msituni, haijachanganywa na chochote.
Narok County accounts for between 10 to 15% of Kenya's annual meat production, which is estimated at over 840,000 tons. Victor Kiprop, NTV, Narok County.
And there you have it, the 1 kilo meat challenge. Let's go now to Pokot, where political leaders from the West Pokot County are protesting the planned operation by the government to disarm National Police Reservists in the North Rift region. They want the government to consider dialogue before embarking on the disarmament exercise.
West Pokot is one of the regions in the country where residents are accustomed to arming themselves due to insecurity.
Watu wanapotaka kuishi wanasumbua.
It is quite common to find households owning guns, most of them illegal. The government has been conducting a disarmament and fresh registration of firearms not only in this region but the entire North Rift.
Wale ambao wamekuwa wakitulinda wanajulikana kama NPR, National Police Reserves, walipokonya mabunduki. Na katika muda hiyo ya karibu wiki moja tumepata maafa mengi, hasa katika sehemu hii yetu ya Pokot Central ama Sigor constituency. Badala ya kufanya mipango Nairobi na kufanya uamuzi kutoka huko, mipango haya yangefanyika hapa chini na sisi wote tuhusishwe, ndio tukubaliana kwa pamoja ni namna gani tutafanya mambo haya.
Kwa hivyo tunataka wote security Matiang'i achukue, aweke askari kila kona ili wananchi walale kwa usalama.
Last week, there were attacks reported along the West Pokot, Turkana and West Pokot, Elgeyo Marakwet borders. A general service officer was shot at Tono area. A civilian was also killed at Sarimach.
Wamama pia kwa mambo ya peace, tuko na wamama viongozi wa mashinani. Wacha wamama wahusike kwa mambo ya peace. Kama peace committee na wanaume, wacha wamama pia wawe nayo.
Kwa hivyo tunahitaji haki yetu. Naongea kama mama kwa uchungu. Kwa mama ile anasikia uchungu ya mtoto. Mtoto anakuwa mchanga. Nasikia vibaya sana.
The leaders are threatening to stage a major demonstration and block the Kitale-Lodwar Highway Road to protest the rising insecurity along the borders of West Pokot, Elgeyo Marakwet, Baringo and Turkana counties. Sharon Baranga, NTV.
Well, from West Pokot, let's cross now to the Masai Mara in Narok County, where we are now joined by our reporter Edmond Nyabola, who's going to give us stories from there. Interesting things they've been working on, and it's windy, I understand. Edmond, tell us more.
Thank you so much, Dennis. We are at the Masai Mara Game Reserve in Narok County at the Kichwatembo tented camp. It's been a very long and tedious journey this morning coming from Narok town, about 200 kilometers to get to this place to be able to give you this link. But we are within the park. The animals sheltered at this moment in time, so we are not able to see a lot of them. But from a distance, we can see buffaloes, zebras, giraffes, and all of them. That there is part of the team, Oli Barros and Dan Mule as well, joining us on the game drive this afternoon. But it's a wonderful place. It's a wonderful afternoon. The sun is out. It's beautiful here. The last night, of course, of on NTV on the Road Sober edition. We've been here from Friday covering the stories in this part of the country, county number 33, to talk about culture, tourism, business, agriculture, and all those things. And it's been wonderful. The team is tired, but yes, we are still doing the best we can because we still have to deliver for this night. But this actually is the best part of our trip down here at Narok County. So we are here this afternoon. We are not able to do the news from here because of a technical problem we had earlier, but we've since fixed that, and you can see that we are here, so it's not a lie, Dennis. And it's going to be a marvelous afternoon for the team as we enjoy our visit here in county number 33. So in just a bit, we'll be setting out for a drive in the wild and see the animals, see the wild animals, and then we'll tell you stories about them. So don't worry, all the animals that we'll have seen. Remember, 95 species of different animals and 420 bird species within this game reserve alone. It's one of the biggest in the country and by far the best tourist destination in the whole of Africa, having been voted as such 6 times. You know, with the wildebeest migration that we have here, the 8th wonder of the world, happening from June to October. We'll be telling you a story about that as well, and of course speaking to some of the tourists who are here to just see what Narok has to offer and what Kenya has to offer in terms of tourism and all of that. So it's a lovely afternoon. I'm sure you're jealous being there in studio reading those the news this afternoon as we enjoy the rest of the afternoon with the lovely team and of course our guides as well in this game drive truck. And yes, so I think what we'll have to do is we'll just continue with our journey and let you struggle with the news, Dennis. Bye-bye. See you later.
Well, I'm sure Edmond is just going to come across 1 or 2 lions there because it's afternoon. The morning drive is normally the interesting one because right now the animals are tired, it's so hot and they're hiding under the shades. But I just couldn't help but think of an interesting story if a lion, while he was doing that live link, just, you know, showed up right at his back and perhaps pounced on him. That would have made an interesting story. Let's move on now, where Kenyan authorities are interrogating over 100 Tanzanian fishermen who were nabbed in Kenyan waters. The Kenya Coast Guard Service says the Tanzanians will be questioned before they are repatriated back to their country.
The 108 fishermen from Pemba, Tanzania were sailing aboard 23 fishing vessels when they were swept by strong sea currents into Kenya's territorial waters. 2 of the fishermen fell sick and were rushed to the hospital.
The boats landed in Kilifi, Wesa, Watamu, Ngomeni, Malindi, Uyombo, Mayungu and Kipini. 23 boats in number and all had 108 people.
The fishermen are currently at the fisheries landing site in Kilifi. The fishermen also lack proper personal identification documents. The government has reached out to its Tanzanian counterparts to ensure the fishermen return home safely.
Baada ya hali ya hewa kutulia, wao wenyewe kule watatumia njia za kawaida kutafuta vibali vya kusafiri, watakuja na kufuata vyombo vyao kwa ajili ya kuchukua na kurudi navyo.
Early this week, the weatherman warned of heavy rains and strong winds that may result in storm surge along the coast. Mombasa County Director of Meteorology Edward Ngure warned fishermen to be cautious. The heavy rains have affected many businesses at the coast, including operation at the port of Mombasa. Halima Gongo, NTV.
The Aga Khan Academy in Mombasa maintains that its growing legacy of providing quality education and mentoring students is driven by its approach to education. In his words, His Highness the Aga Khan said that the academy prioritizes on nurturing talent and to make students responsible leaders of tomorrow.
One of the key missions of the Aga Khan Academy in Mombasa is to create ethical leaders and work towards a shared goal of sustainable development so as to improve the standards of education in the country. The Academy places great importance on identifying and nurturing exceptional young people from a wide range of nationalities and religion.
I would like to recognize some of the very important people who have made this day possible for our graduates. Clearly, that starts with His Highness the Aga Khan and his vision for this ambitious program as an integrated network of academies launched just over 15 years ago. His Highness's remarkable vision has enabled and will continue to enable meritorious students to access education of the highest international standard regardless of their culture, religion, language, or family's financial circumstances.
The founder, His Highness the Aga Khan, said in a statement, the quote, "The young men and women will become leaders in governments and different institutions and will create positive change in the world." End of quote. The 85 graduates and the class of 2019 were offered admissions to attend prestigious schools around the world, including the London School of Economics, Vanderbilt University, University of California, Northwestern University in Qatar, and Johns Hopkins University, among others.
You have competed in tournaments, initiated, led, and starred in amazing events and productions, and put in hours of dedicated service to the community. We thank you all for your contributions and for sharing your gifts and talents.
The Aga Khan Academy is a program of the Aga Khan Development Network and the first of a network of 18 planned academies established across Africa, Europe, South and Central Asia, and the Middle East, and offers IB curriculum. Admissions to the academy is based on merit, and financial assistance is available to ensure access for students with demonstrated need. Kevin Mutai, NTV, Mombasa.
Residents of Archers Post in Samburu East, Waso Ward along Isiolo boundary have expressed their concerns over the lack of essential services such as health. Residents claim that they have been disappointed at the lack of progress in the construction of a hospital by the county government. They added that they have been having to rely on one ambulance from a private hospital, which is not affordable to all. They also claim that there is a severe shortage of clean water.
This hospital has been in construction for 7 years. How long will it take until we see the first patient being treated from this hospital? Area yetu hii, health issues are rampant.
Lakini tumepata shida sana upande wa maji kwa sababu tangu national government iwe tulikuwa sawa. Manake ilikuwa inamanejiwa vizuri. Lakini tangu county government ingie saizi hakuna maji.
Well, let's hope the county of Samburu is listening and will do something about that. The first cohort of the Meru Youth Service has graduated with various artisan and craft certificates from Meru National Polytechnic in an event presided by Meru University of Science and Technology Vice-Chancellor Professor Romanus Odhiambo. The graduates were challenged to utilize the acquired skills. The youth have mainly been trained in hospitality and construction. The program, which is seen as a sure way of transforming the economy of Meru County, is also geared towards helping the less fortunate and jobless youth in the county. The program is sponsored by KCB Foundation, the UN Habitat, and the county's business community.
We'll open opportunities for you, for internship and many other things. I want to promise and I want to give this offer to my friend the governor that we will employ 5 of these graduates that are graduating today.
We know you are facing enormous problems, and this is a small step trying to address those problems. So we are trying to find a solution to a national problem. We are committed to making sure that the youth do not go back to the life that they were living before. We are committed to make a difference in the lives of the MIS.
Further afield, a repeat vote counting in Malawi is set to commence after the country's High Court ordered the electoral body not to announce the 21st May presidential election results. This is after the opposition complained of vote rigging, claims that caused tension in the southeastern African nation. A count of votes tallied in 3/4 of the country's polling stations released Thursday found incumbent President Peter Mutharika leading with 40.9%. His closest challenger, Chakwera of the MCP, had 35.44% of the vote, while Vice President Chilima was on 18%.
The complaints that have come, without resolving them, we cannot announce the results.
Sudan's protest leaders have called for a 2-day general strike starting on Tuesday amid deadlock in talks with the ruling army generals on installing civilian rule, the key demand of demonstrators. The umbrella protest movement, which led nationwide demonstrations against longtime leader Omar al-Bashir that led to his ouster on April 11th, is at odds with the generals over the forming of a new governing body.
Talks between the protest leaders and generals have been suspended since Monday after a disagreement over who should lead the new authority, a civilian or an officer. The generals who seized power after Bashir was toppled have resisted calls from the demonstrators and the international community to step down. The Protest Alliance said that on Saturday its leaders will hold meetings with demonstrators at the sit-in outside the military headquarters to consult the demonstrators on how to end the deadlock in talks with the generals. Thousands of protesters remain camped at the sit-in demanding that the generals who seized power after ousting Bashir step down. The Alliance for Freedom and Change has called for rallies from residential areas in Khartoum, heading towards the sit-in today. Several rounds of talks have so far failed to finalize the makeup of the new ruling body, with both the generals and protest leaders insisting on their demands. Western nations like the United States, Britain, and Norway have consistently called on the generals to hand over power to a civilian administration, while the ruling army council has received support from regional allies like Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. Meanwhile, the head of Sudan's ruling military council arrived in Cairo, where he met President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan is on his first trip since taking power following the April ouster of President Omar al-Bashir after months of protests.
From Sudan to South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa vowed a new era after he was sworn in as president of South Africa at a colorful ceremony in the capital as he looks to revitalize his push to revive the economy and fight corruption. Foreign heads of state from more than 40 countries were among 36,000 people who witnessed the event, replete with pomp, military honors, and an Air Force flyover at a rugby stadium in Pretoria. Ramaphosa, who became president last year through internal politics in his African National Congress party and won a popular mandate in elections, faces an uphill battle to drive through reforms in a country suffering from chronic jobless rates, inequality, crime, and endemic corruption. ANC won 57.5% of the vote on May 8th, its weakest result since apartheid was overturned 25 years ago.
have spoken. With your votes, confidence and your trust in the men and women who now sit in our 6th democratic parliament.
The Shindana Stars promotion, a grand prize of Kenya shillings 1 million to be won, and a lifetime trip.
Let's get into the world of sport. I'm Ida Warenga. And the Kenya Sevens Challenge Trophy quarterfinal between themselves and Scotland is done, with Kenya losing 29-21. Now, Kenya Sevens once again dropped to the Challenge Trophy after losing to France 31-17 in their last Pool B duel at London Sevens on Saturday. Well, the Shujas had kept their hopes alive when they stand Samoa 21-20 after they had fought bravely, only to go down to defending champions Fiji 24-17. Kenya will next play Japan in the 13th place semi-final, with the Shujas on the edge of relegation. Speaking of relegation, the battle takes center stage today in two, I do beg your pardon, of today's 6 Kenyan Premier League games. 17th placed Vihiga United and 13th placed Western Stima go at it, while 16th placed Zoo FC host 6th placed Kakamega Homeboys in Kericho. If Vihiga lose to Western Stima and Zoo manage at least a point against Kakamega, then Vihiga will drop to their second tier next season. In other games, Bandari host Sofapaka in a chance to solidify a second position. Kariobangi Sharks take on already relegated Mount Kenya United. AFC Leopards clash with Tusker FC, and KCB play Ulinzi. Let's cross borders now, and Valencia stand Barcelona in the Copa del Rey final to pull off a thrilling 2-1 victory and become champions. Valencia went 2 up in the first half. Kevin Gamero and Rodrigo scoring inside. International football, Bayern Munich beat RB Leipzig 3-0 thanks to
Well, thank you, Ida. That's it for NTV at 1. I'm Dennis Okari. See you again at 7 and 9 p.m. Good afternoon.